Crystal Palace of the Zareth Empire, a powerful alien civilization. The alien princess Lyra stops suddenly in a public hall. She is staring at a human man in chains, surrounded by armed guards. He looks calm, quiet, and broken, clearly a prisoner. Everyone expects fear or disgust from her. Instead, she says softly but clearly, "Mom, I want him." The entire hall goes silent. Music stops, guards tense, nobles whisper in shock. Princess is. Lyra is not a normal child. She is the only daughter of Queen Zalara, ruler of hundreds of worlds. Her words can start wars. She has never asked for anything before. The queen slowly turns. The queen sees the human. Queen Zalara looks at the human man. The moment her eyes meet his face, her expression changes. Her breath stops for half a second. She recognizes something, but says nothing. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The Great Hall of the Zareth Royal Palace had seen many strange moments. It had witnessed war declarations, royal weddings, and the judgment of entire worlds. But never had it seen silence like this. The air itself felt frozen. Hundreds of alien nobles stood motionless beneath the tall crystal ceiling. Their glowing eyes were fixed on a single figure kneeling at the center of the hall. A human. He was tall compared to most of them, but thin. His dark clothes were torn and burned. Metal cuffs locked his hands behind his back, glowing faintly with energy restraints. Yet his face showed no fear. He knelt calmly, head raised, eyes steady. Around him, elite palace guards held weapons that could erase cities. Their fingers hovered near the triggers. And then the voice came. Soft, young, clear. "Mom, I want him." Gasps echoed across the hall. The guards stiffened. Nobles whispered in panic. Some even stepped backward in fear. The voice belonged to Princess Lyra. She stood beside the throne, her glowing silver skin shining under the palace lights. She was small, barely grown, but everyone knew her importance. She was the only child of Queen Zalara, the future ruler of the Zareth Empire, a bloodline that controlled hundreds of star systems. The queen did not speak at first. She sat still upon the high throne of living crystal. Her long crown curved backward like sharpened wings. Her eyes, ancient and powerful, slowly moved from her daughter to the human kneeling below. When Queen Zalara truly looked at him, something changed. Her fingers tightened on the armrest. Her breath caught just for a moment. No one noticed. But something deep inside her stirred. The human met her gaze without lowering his eyes. That alone was a crime. One of the council elders stepped forward quickly, his voice sharp with fear. "Your Majesty," he said, "the princess does not understand. This creature is dangerous. A human does not belong in the palace." Princess Lyra turned toward the elder, her expression calm but firm. "I understand," she said. "That is why I chose him." More whispers spread through the hall. Humans were known across the galaxy. Or at least, what little was known of them. They were weak. They were short-lived. They depended on machines to survive. Their empire had collapsed decades ago. Most species believed humans were nearly extinct. So why was one here? And why did the princess want him? Queen Zalara raised one clawed hand. Silence returned instantly. Her voice when she spoke was cold and controlled. "Explain," she said. The command was directed at the guards. One stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty," the guard said, "the human was discovered on the outer border world Karos 9. The planet was destroyed. No cities remained. No survivors." The guard hesitated. "We found him walking alone across the ruins." The hall stirred again. "Walking." Across a dead world. Queen Zalara's eyes narrowed. Was he armed? She asked. No, Your Majesty, the guard replied. No weapon, no armor, no ship. The queen leaned forward slightly. How did he survive? We do not know. The human remained silent. Princess Lyra took a small step forward. When I saw him, she said softly, he was hurt, but he did not cry, he did not ask for help. She looked at him again. He was holding something inside. The queen turned sharply to her daughter. What do you mean? Lyra pressed a hand to her chest. Pain, she said, not his, many others. Some nobles shook their heads. Others looked disturbed. Empathic abilities in the royal bloodline were rare. But when they appeared, they were never wrong. The queen studied the human again. He looked tired. Not weak. Tired. Human, the queen said, state your name. The hall waited. Slowly the human spoke. His voice was rough, quiet but steady. Ethan Hale. Simple words. No title. No fear. The queen felt a strange chill. What were you doing on Caro's 9? She asked. Ethan did not answer immediately. His eyes lowered just slightly. I was late, he said. That was all. The council erupted. That proves nothing, one shouted. He could be lying, another cried. This is a trick. Queen Zalara raised her hand again. Silence fell. She looked at Ethan with unreadable eyes. You will be held in the palace, she said slowly. Under watch, not harmed. The council froze. Your Majesty, several voices cried at once. The queen ignored them. She stood. The hall bowed as one. The princess smiled faintly. Ethan was escorted away, chains glowing as he walked. He did not resist. As he passed Lyra, she reached out without thinking. Their fingers brushed. For a brief moment, Lyra felt something overwhelming. A battlefield. Fire. Screams. A sky filled with falling stars. Then it was gone. That night Queen Zalara could not rest. She stood alone in the royal archive chamber, surrounded by floating memory crystals. Her expression was tense. She activated an old record. A war file long sealed. The human containment conflict. The images flickered to life. Planets burning. Human ships fighting hopeless odds. Soldiers standing their ground while evacuation vessels escaped. The queen watched in silence. Then a specific file opened. A ground battle. A human unit surrounded. One soldier stepped forward, removing his helmet. The queen's breath stopped. It was Ethan. But younger. Stronger. The date displayed beneath the image made her blood run cold. 74 standard years ago. The queen whispered to herself, her voice barely sound. Humans do not live that long. The crystal dimmed. Far away in a guarded chamber, Ethan sat alone. He closed his eyes. And for the first time since arriving at the palace, he allowed himself to remember. Queen Zalara stood alone in the dark archive chamber for a long time. The memory crystal floated quietly before her, its light slowly fading. The image of the human soldier remained burned into her mind. Ethan Hale. The same face. The same eyes. But the record was over 70 years old. Her fingers trembled slightly as she closed her hand. Impossible, she whispered again. Humans did not live this long. Even the strongest of them rarely passed 40 standard cycles. Yet the human kneeling in her palace looked no older than the soldier in the recording. Outside the archive chamber, alarms did not sound. The empire slept peacefully. But the queen felt something ancient waking up. A fear she had not felt since the last human war. She turned and left the chamber without another word. Ethan sat on the floor of the guarded room, his back against the smooth metal wall. The restraints were still on his wrists, but the energy field had been lowered. They no longer burned his skin. He stared at nothing. Time passed slowly. He had not slept since he was captured. Sleep brought memories. Too many memories. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Princess Lyra stepped inside, followed by two guards who stayed near the entrance. She looked at Ethan with wide, careful eyes. "You are not hurt?" she asked. Ethan shook his head slightly. "No," he said. Lyra hesitated, then walked closer. She sat on the floor across from him, ignoring the guards' sharp looks. "When I touch you," she said softly, "I see things, places I do not understand." Ethan looked at her for a long moment. "You shouldn't," he replied. "Why?" she asked. "Because they're heavy," he said, "too heavy for someone your age." Lyra frowned. "I am not weak." Ethan almost smiled. "Almost." Before he could speak again, the door opened once more. Queen Zalara entered the room. The guards immediately bowed and stepped back. The queen's presence filled the space like pressure. Lyra stood quickly. "Mother," she said. The queen raised a hand gently. "Stay," she said to her daughter. Her eyes never left Ethan. She walked slowly until she stood directly in front of him. "Ethan Hale," she said, "how old are you?" Ethan did not answer right away. He looked down at his restrained hands. "I stopped counting," he said. The queen's voice sharpened. "Answer me." Ethan lifted his head. "Biologically," he said, 32. The queen's claws dug slightly into her palm. "And chronologically." Silence filled the room. Lyra felt the air grow heavy. Ethan finally spoke. 89. The guard stiffened. Lyra gasped softly. The queen did not move. "Explain," she said. Ethan took a slow breath. "When humanity realized we couldn't win wars with numbers," he began, "we changed." Lyra listened closely. "We learned that survival doesn't always mean winning fast," Ethan continued. "Sometimes it means lasting longer than the enemy expects." The queen's eyes narrowed. "You altered yourselves," she said. "Yes," Ethan replied, "not for power, for endurance." He leaned his head back against the wall. "They called us anchors. We were sent where retreat was impossible." Lyra felt a sharp pain in her chest. "What happened to Earth?" she asked quietly. Ethan closed his eyes. "It burned," he said, "but it didn't beg." The queen turned away for a moment. That single sentence told her everything. Before anyone could speak again, a loud alarm echoed through the palace. Red lights flashed. The guards raised their weapons. An officer's voice rang out from the corridor. "Your Majesty, long-range scanners detect an incoming fleet." Queen Zalara turned sharply. "Identify them." The officer swallowed. "Voidborn Collective," he said. The name hit the room like a weapon. Lyra looked at Ethan. His face had gone completely still. "That's them," he said. The queen felt a chill run through her body. The Voidborn were an ancient enemy. A species that erased worlds and moved on. They were the ones who had crushed the human systems. "How long?" the queen asked. 2 hours until they reach firing range," the officer replied. The council chambers erupted into chaos moments later. Generals argued. Advisors shouted. Battle plans failed before they were even finished. The Voidborn fleet was too large. Queen Zalara stood in silence as the noise filled the room. Then she spoke. "Enough." The room quieted. She turned slowly. "Bring the human." Murmurs spread, but no one objected. Ethan was escorted into the chamber. He looked at the floating star map. He understood immediately. "They followed me," he said. The generals reacted angrily. "This is your fault," one shouted. Ethan nodded once. "Yes." Lyra stepped forward. "Can we stop them?" she asked. Ethan studied the map. "Yes," he said. Hope flashed across the room. "How many ships do you need?" a general demanded. Ethan shook his head. "One." The room fell silent again. "One ship," the general repeated. "Yes," Ethan said calmly. "Fast, small, quiet." The Queen stared at him. "You would face them alone." "I've done worse," Ethan replied. Lyra grabbed his hand. "You'll die," she said. Ethan looked down at her. "Maybe," he said gently, "but that's not new." Queen Zelera closed her eyes. For the first time in centuries, she bowed her head. "Go," she said. The command was final. The ship left the hangar without ceremony. No cheering. No announcement. Just one small human vessel, moving toward an endless enemy fleet. Ethan sat in the cockpit, hands steady. The stars stretched ahead of him. He activated old systems. Human systems. The Voidborn fleet detected him too late. He flew straight through their formation, dropping signals, false targets, traps, human tricks. One ship exploded. Then another. Confusion spread through the enemy ranks. Ethan used their strength against them. He led them into their own firing lines, turned their weapons inward. Inside the palace, the royal screens showed everything. Silence filled the hall as the Voidborn fleet collapsed, one by one, until only drifting wreckage remained. Ethan's ship emerged from the smoke, damaged but alive. Lyra cried openly. Queen Zelera felt something she had not felt in a very long time. Respect. Ethan returned hours later. He walked into the great hall without chains. The nobles bowed. Queen Zelera stepped down from her throne. She looked at the human who had saved her empire. "You are welcome here," she said. Ethan shook his head. "I didn't do it for welcome," he replied. Lyra smiled. "What will you do now?" she asked. Ethan looked toward the stars. "Rest," he said, "for a while." The Queen placed a hand over her heart. "Humanity will be remembered," she said. Ethan met her gaze. "Good," he replied, "that's enough." Lyra stepped closer. She took his hand again. This time the pain was gone. Only strength remained. And